Hello guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. You're probably here because you're tired of building tons of digital product that users don't use. Well, say no more, because on today's episode of the 10 UX laws and terms, you'll be able to create interface that every user would love to engage with. Our first principle of today is the law of proximity. Law of proximity states that objects close to each other are often perceived as a single group. In the UI/UX design, grouping related elements together makes it easier for users to understand the relationship between them and to find information quickly. This is an example of the law of proximity. You can clearly see that this group is different from this group. Now take a look at the example. Take a look at the next example. You would see that you don't even know if this group is the same thing as this or if this is together with this. That's where law of proximity comes in place. It also creates a visual hierarchy by making important elements stand out and guiding users' attention. Our second principle is the halo effect. In the UX design, the halo effect is a bias where the user's overall impression is affected by its perception of its individual elements. Designers can use halo effects to their advantage by creating a strong first impression product and by carefully considering how the element contributes to the user interface and the user experience. Speaking of design industries, companies like Apple, Facebook, Google, Vector, and Airbnb comes in mind, right? What did I just do? I mentioned Vector, which is probably maybe an investment company or a company that I have no idea. But I made you believe that Vector is a design centric company just by mentioning it with Apple, Facebook, and Google. This right here is called the halo effect. Our third principle for today is the Miller's Law. Take a look at the numbers on your screen. Close your eyes and try to remember. Most of us will probably fail. Now take a look at this number. Easy to, and try to remember. Easy to understand, right? Better than before. This is just to state that the human brain can only keep 7 objects in a working memory. In UX design, Miller's law is an important consideration when creating interface that requires users to remember information and to process information easily. Designers should always aim at presenting information in an easy, concise, and clear way to understand. And this can be done by using grouping, visual hierarchy, and categorization. Our fifth principle of today is the aesthetic usability effect. People believe that things that look good tend to work well, and this is called the aesthetic usability effect. Tell me, what do you think of the Apple website and interface? Good looking, right? Well, this is just to say that good looking interface products are directly assumed to work well, and people still tend to ignore the minor issues they have with them. And that is why in the UX design, aesthetic is as important as functionality. We'll just leave that right there. But if you want more explanation on it, please let me know in the comment section. Our sixth principle of today is the decor effect. The decor effect is the heart of pricing strategy everywhere. It's a technique of using a variance that exists just to distract you and make you believe something else. The decor effect is the most used UX law. It's used everywhere. Here's an example of the decor effect. Let's use the popcorn ideology to make this example. Imagine you have a large popcorn going for 1002 and a small popcorn going for, let's say, 700 or 600. Yeah, which would you go for? I'm sure you're still like indecisive, depending on if you're alone or if you have friends. But this is where the decor effect comes in place, whereby another option is being created as the medium popcorn size, which would go for about 1000 or 1100. Now, when you have a small size going for 700, medium going for 1100, and a large going for 1002, I'm sure if you're like me, you probably want to go for the large one, because what's the difference between the medium and the large? That is what the decor effect is all about. It's just making you believe something else, making you believe that, okay, distracting your mind from actually going from the medium, or just making you believe that the large is the better option. Try this decor effect and let me know what you think about it. Our seventh principle for today is the fit law. The fit law simply states that the time required to get to a target area is a function of the distance of the target and the size of the target. It just simply means that the bigger and closer a target is, the easier and faster it is to reach. In the UX design, it is suggested that designers should create user control and interface that are faster and easier to access. Example of this is a website, an e-commerce website, where you have the add to cart and the checkout button placed closely for easier and faster access by the users. Our eighth law for today is the Inks law. The Inks law simply states that users spend more time in making a decision when the number and complexity of choices are more. This just simply means that the more choices you present to a user, the longer it takes them to come up with a decision. As designers, you should try to break up long and complicated processing into smaller steps and ensure that these steps create a clear purpose for the user to follow. An example of this is, instead of having a long list of options, why not just group them and or categorize them to make it easier for the users to, make a decision faster. Our ninth principle for today is the Parkinson law. The Parkinson law states that work would always expand till it fills out the available time for completion. This is a general law in human nature, but in design, it is always advisable for you to limit the time it takes you to complete a task to what the user expects. When further reducing this expectation duration, it improves the overall user experience, because the user would already feel like it will take you a certain time to finish this task. But when it takes lesser than that time, it keeps the user coming back to reuse that product. It's just my favorite law. It's one of my favorite law actually. The 10 and final law, UX law principle for today, authority bias. In the UI UX design, authority bias can affect how a user perceive and interact with a product. Users are more likely to trust and use features that are presented as being recommended by high authority experts in a field. For example, on a website where there's a customer section reviews for well attributed experts, let's take for instance Jesse Showwater. Users are most likely to trust those kinds of reviews and make a purchase on them. However, it is not advisable for designers to misuse the use of authority bias, as it could bring ethical concerns such as forced manipulation and forced endorsement of users' behavior. That will be all for today. Thank you guys for staying tuned. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe, and please share to every designer that needs to see this right now. On that note, I thank you guys for staying tuned with me up till this time, and see you next time.